Every year, tennis players from around the world compete for excellence, triumphing against all odds to emerge the champions. I'm your host, Madi Harrison. Join me as I get up close and personal with these dynamic individuals and find out what it takes to go for greatness. Let's go beyond the match. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Match. I'm your host, Madi Harrison. Today, I'm elated to have England's incredible Marcus Willis join me. Marcus has a story that is truly like no other. His career has been filled with epic moments, including over a decade on tour, a retirement from the sport, and now a strong resurgence. After a couple years away, his return to tennis has been nothing short of a wild success so far. He started this year by winning a doubles title on the ATP Challenger Tour and has won 6 more titles since. All the titles have led him to a career-high doubles ranking of 95 in the world. I've been lucky enough to get to know him a bit off the court and cannot wait to get into it today. Marcus, welcome to Beyond the Match.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. So here on Beyond the Match, we discuss what makes a player who they are, and we go deep into the positive and negatives of what comes with being a professional tennis player. I want to start today with the positives. What about tennis are you most grateful for?
Oof, that's a really good question. What am I most grateful for? I guess overall, it's the places it's taken me to, the people I've met. I've had some incredible experiences traveling the world, some interesting ones, some bad ones, obviously, but I've had life experience from a very young age of going to different places and learned some, good life skills as well. When I'm thinking about things I'm grateful for, I've got to go to places I've never probably have gone to had I not been playing tennis.
Right. Do you have a favorite on-court memory?
I mean, I've got a few. I mean, playing at Wimbledon's been pretty special. I remember the first time I played at Junior Wimbledon. I was 16, and my first round junior match went over 4 days because of the rain on 4 different courts.
Oh my gosh!
I won in a match tiebreak in the end on court 17. It was, but that was super special to me. Just playing there, and obviously Junior US, Junior French Open, like they were super cool memories. But yeah, it's tough to put, number one. Obviously, I played on centre court. That was pretty awesome. Looking back, so I've had a lot of positive experiences, mainly at Wimbledon for me, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. The centre court atmosphere is unlike any other. It's amazing. This year, you made it to the quarterfinals of Wimbledon mixed doubles. Tell me about that experience as a Brit playing with a Brit on home soil at Wimbledon.
Yeah, it was really nice. Excuse me. It was really nice. We didn't know if we were gonna for sure get in, and we saw our names in the draw, and we had a tough first round draw in the men's doubles and got outperformed there. So it was, for me, it was a bonus to have another match at Wimbledon, at least. And then we ended up on court 1 on our first round. We were supposed to be on court 3, and then we got moved. So, that's somewhere I've never played before. And we went out there, and the atmosphere and support was incredible. And we played, really good tennis. And, winning that Sunday night in front of, it wasn't full that first round, but it was playing on court 1, beating, world-class doubles players. That was super special. And we got to the quarters in the end, and court 1 was full for the quarterfinals. And, I got to play on court 2 in the second round. Never played there before. So, while it was going on, I was very grateful to be, even in the first round, to be given a wild card, and then to play on, the stadium courts that I did and win up into the quarters was just a fully positive experience.
Mm-hmm. That's so special. I feel like everyone and their mother knows what you accomplished in 2016 at Wimbledon. For those who don't know, you went through the pre-qualifying, then you went on to the qualifying. I didn't even know this, but you beat Medvedev and Rublev to get to the main draw. Won your first round match against Ricardus Berankis, then end up playing Roger Federer in the second round, who eventually stopped your winning streak. Tell me about that experience, going back to the point before you even started the tournament, where you were at your career in that time.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 weeks were really, really strange, really quick, really intense, really amazing. But before I entered pre-qualifying, I was thinking about taking a job in Philadelphia. I had options. I definitely wanted to head to the States to work there. I'd got injured that January and hadn't hit a ball professionally since the first week of the year.
Wow.
You know, I was already doing coaching hours at my local club here in Warwick in the UK. So, you know, I was very much playing league matches in France and Germany and still playing quite well, but very much looking forward to the next bit of my career, I suppose. I hadn't really got where I wanted to up until that point. And yeah, I entered pre-qualifying. I hadn't hit a ball on grass, you know, because I was going to France at the weekends playing for my team then, and there's not a lot of places to practice on grass, ironically, in the UK.
That's crazy.
So, you know, I was coaching the day before I played pre-qualifying, and you enter over the phone. You can go there and enter, but I entered over the phone, and you know, when I called up to check if I was in, I was told I was last in at 772 in the world I was at the time. And one player hadn't made it back from Turkey in time to sign in. So, you know, I was very lucky to even be in that competition.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, my run helped because I was so loose with no expectation, and I just went and played tennis. I didn't think about anything else, and you know, I won 3 pre-qualies without dropping a set. I beat Luke Bambridge, O'Mara, and Joe Salisbury on grass. So they were 3 really good wins.
Wow.
And then, you know, when I pre-qualified, I was, you know, a little bit surprised, a little bit shocked, but I was like, I'm playing Wimbledon qualifying again. And you know, I went to Coldplay concert with my family on the Sunday night. That was already pre-booked, and I just went and had a good time. And it rained Monday, and yeah, I played Sugita first round of qualifying. Who was at the time? Yeah, Yuki Sugita, he was called. He qualified the 3 previous years, and I went 6-1 down within 18 minutes. First round quality. So I was thinking, you know, my dad was there, my now wife was there. Had a couple of friends there, and I was thinking, okay, maybe this is where I'm at, you know. And I stuck in the second set, held a load of break points, and broke him out of nowhere at 6-5. And then third set, played the best tennis in my life and won 6-1. And then, you know, after that, I was very much breaking it down to a point or a game at a time from there. And yeah, I played a very young Andrei Rublev the next round, who, you know, I knew he'd come onto the tour already. He was, you know, young but very good. And you know, I beat him in straight. Played a very clean, very good match. You know, frustrated him, which I don't know if that's an achievement nowadays. But you know, at the time, he didn't like my style. I was keeping points very short. You know, bringing him to the net, coming to the net myself, and yeah, all of a sudden from there, I remember I had a couple of interviews, and I said, you know, I was going to move to America and you know, quit professional tennis. And that storyline kind of kicked off before the last round qualies. And then I kind of had the pressure. I played Daniel Medvedev last round, who at the time was 200 in the world. Didn't know a lot about him. But I'd seen he's won his first 2 rounds very easily. You know, I think he won, you know, 2-2 the previous round against a good player, and first round very easy as well. So, you know, again, there I went 5-1 down. I lost the first set 6-3 and was really hanging on into the match. And then I think he dropped his level a little bit, started getting a bit frustrated. And, you know, by the end, I remember I was serving for the match at 5-2 in the 4th. And that's when my nerves came in. I got broken to love, played a horrendous game. and then round at 5-4, you know, I managed to hold to love there. But yeah, when I qualified, it hadn't quite sunk in, you know.
Yeah.
I've been at Wimbledon qualifying a few times before, and you know, I won a round. I beat a guy called, you probably know him, Amir Delic. I beat him when I was 19. A very good player, and I hadn't pushed on from there. I lost first round a couple of times. So I was surprised it happened then. You know, when my eyes were on the next stage of my life. But at the same time, I played pressure-free tennis, and there was still pressure on the last round. I thought I didn't want to lose last round qualies and get so close, because qualifying's at a different location to actual Wimbledon. You play in a field in the Bank of England, and it's a lot better now because Wimbledon have come in and turf the courts up, and the courts are playing nice. But at the time, it was a very different surface. It was windy. It didn't feel like Wimbledon. And that's, when I qualified, I came out of the court and there were, 100 people there, quite a load of microphones. And, I knew then that it was going to be an intense few weeks. But yeah, I went home to Warwick. I turned my phone off and went to Wimbledon the next day, picked up my pass, and everything was perfect.
Wow.
Everything was perfect.
Your story just speaks volumes to how crazy this sport can be. And playing pressure free, like you said, with no expectations versus playing with so much expectations. Yeah,
and that was it. And then, as I say, I picked up my pass first round. I got put on court 17, which I told you was the court I won my first ever match on in the juniors. So, I saw the schedule and quite a few people were disappointed because it was not a huge story, but a big story at the time. I think people were hoping for a slightly bigger court, and I was really, really happy.
17 has some stadium around it, right?
Yeah, it's just an outside court with 250 seats.
Okay.
But I was happy. I was really happy because I had good memories from there. I'd never been on a stadium court before, so I don't know how I would have dealt with that. And the atmosphere was incredible. It was quite a rowdy atmosphere. I had a lot of friends and friends of friends come and make a lot of noise, and I played a great match. Yeah. And then it was only as I was walking off that I looked up at centre court and saw Federer was playing, and because I don't check the draw out that much, like I didn't really have time at that time. I was dealing with enough and just lapping up the experience, and it was only then I thought, I think I'm playing him. I think I'm playing Federer.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just smiling, walking off, going, I'd taken a lot in my stride in those 2 weeks, and I was like, well, let's go play tennis. And yeah, I mean, the media was intense. 2 weeks before I was signing in over the phone, and then all of a sudden you're getting asked, seven different press interviews asking, about your life. So that was weird, but again, it was a whole positive experience, and obviously I was a little tired going into that one, but I had a lot of adrenaline. And I did okay in the end, but I mean, the bottom line is Federer was better than me. He was a better tennis player.
Federer did better.
Yeah, he did, and I was getting there. I had some break points, and third set could have been interesting, but I went out there and it could have been a lot worse. So I always think I wish I played a bit better. I wish I tactically was more aware in the first set and things like that, but it could have been an awful lot worse.
Yeah. I mean, no matter who you're playing, it's hard not to look back and have that competitive spirit take over and think, oh, could have done this, could have done that.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, I think for me, I always do that anyway, especially when I lose. I look back at the match and, I have nightmares about certain volleys or serves or things like that. But this was the only time I've ever played on centre court to date. Mm-hmm. This, could be the only time I play someone like that. That's the only time you're going to play Federer. So I think it was sort of I think the emotions were multiplied for sure.
Right.
But yeah, no, it feels like a long time ago now, but I can remember it very clearly. I can remember parts of the match, and I think when you walk out there, it's very surreal. Always watch on TV or in the stands. I went on centre this year to watch the first set of Andy's last doubles match, and I was sat there, and you get this. I mean, the feeling of it just sat there. It's just an incredible feeling that I can't really explain. It's just quite overwhelming, just being sat in the stands. Mm-hmm. So I think being on court was really surreal.
Yeah, that's been my experience as well, just sitting in the stands watching. And even that, it's different than any other court.
I mean, I had the same when I went to watch on Arthur Ashe when I was playing the juniors there. There was this whole the atmosphere was just incredible. Yeah. And so when you're playing, I think you don't have too long to think about it all because you're playing a match. And then you have to focus on that. And so I don't think I couldn't really appreciate what was going on because I'm 3-love down to Roger Federer. I've got to get going. So I think I forgot about all that, and then when the match finished and things like that, I got a really nice ovation, which was really nice and just all a bit surreal. And then you come off the court and you speak to your coach and you think, oh, I wish I made that. I wish I went down the line with that forehand pass at 30 on the last game. And that's where you're at. And then only a few days later, do you look back and go, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
What the hell just happened in the last 2 weeks of my life?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy. It still is crazy. Really.
Yeah. Obviously, a tournament like that and a result like that brings such a high. I mean, it's the pinnacle of the sport. I feel like what often gets overlooked is the come down after that high. Is that something that you felt, and was that part of your experience?
Yeah, and I wasn't ready for it, really. I think not just on court, it's in life in general. I was kind of comparing, without realizing I was comparing everything to that, and just I couldn't really feel gratitude or happiness that easily. 6 months later, back playing again. I won the first futures I played again quite easily. I was playing good tennis. I got into an ATP. I lost in 3 sets to a good player. And the next January, I'm back on the futures tour, and my elbow's hurting, and I'm, can't play tennis again. And I'm sat there in my hotel room going, why can't I have that every day?
Yeah.
And that took a lot of work. It was, I don't know, just my whole outlook on life seemed not depressing, but I wasn't really getting much joy in things. I was I'd say I was pretty ungrateful about everything. Seeing the negative.
Nothing could reach that.
Yeah, it's really strange because, and also like when you're doing well, you have a lot of people come into your life and you think they're going to be there forever as well. And they're not bad people; they're doing their job. But when you're struggling again and you do feel alone when you're injured, when you're not on TV and stuff, and you're like, oh, okay. It's a life lesson I was never really prepared for, I suppose. But it's something that now I'm really, I'm glad I learned that, because now I feel pretty strong in general.
Right. It like builds that resilience.
Yeah, got a lot of resilience, got a lot of understanding. Got a lot of understanding that, of people. And I'm, if it boils down to the basics, I'm just happy to be playing tennis. Playing tennis again, playing professionally, having new experiences, and just literally focusing on one day at a time and trying to appreciate that day. Right. It's a lot. I'm in a lot of better place than I was, I suppose, a year after Wimbledon. I played qualies the next year. I got quite out of shape. I was angry. I don't know what about, but just my general attitude was, that of anger. I put on a bit of weight. We made 3rd round of doubles, and it was great, but still I wasn't really content with too much. It was, and then I had a few more injuries, and I stopped playing tennis by the next year. Stopped playing singles by 2018, I think. Okay. I think my last match was against Dan Evans in pre-qualifying. I lost 7-6, 7-6.
Dang.
Yeah, and that my last actual match on the tour was a disaster. I played Nottingham and I lost 3-1 and couldn't get a ball in the court. So,
you mean pre-retirement?
Yeah, pre-retirement. Okay. I haven't played a singles match professionally since 2018, and I lost 3-1 at Nottingham Challenger, and it was just dreadful. And I'm thinking, 2 years before, it was so different. That was my attitude at the time, and why didn't I push on and looking for reasons why everything wasn't perfect, I suppose. I can't.
Were you doing anything at that time to try to like help work through it and kind of cope with those feelings you had?
Not other than eating and drinking, not really anything too helpful, I suppose. I was just quite an angry person, I'd say. Quite an angry person.
That's so interesting, because whenever I've met you, I can't even picture it.
No, I mean inside. I mean, I've always tried to be kind to people and stuff, but just I don't know. I don't know, if anything bad would happen, I'd be like, oh, here we go again. My whole attitude was quite negative and quite, maybe a bit of a victim. Maybe I didn't get a wild card here. Or that's wrong, and just not living life on life's terms, I suppose. And I wasn't very happy. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not happy and you're going about life, it sort of just floats by you a bit. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't mean to obviously do this, but I was comparing everything that happened on and off court to, the best my life's ever been professionally. And it didn't get me very far.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now how have you managed to mature your mindset and shift it?
Well, that's good. I think having young children helps as well. It takes stuff away from tennis and actually, I think, naturally makes you a better person. Not a better person, but you're more selfless. There's other things going on. You realise there's more to life than me hitting a ball over the net, which there is. I've had to work, mentally on things. I've got a very different routine now when I wake up to what I did when I was younger. So I've never been calmer on court as well. So for the last 2 years, I've not broken a racket. I've not got a code violation as far as I remember. I'm just a lot calmer, and I wake up, I do breathing, I get in a cold shower. It's all very, very spiritual, I suppose, or very boring, I suppose. I don't know. You hear people talk about it all the time.
If you wouldn't do that right now, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing that if I hadn't had to sort of manage and speak to people about, I've got close friends, and I was telling them, like, I'm just not. I'm not unhappy, but just I'm not getting where I want. And obviously, people close to me saw me fluctuating in weight, just being a little bit inconsistent, a bit vacant. And I spoke to people. I've had a load of different advice, and I think now I've just got a routine that I go to, and it's working.
Yeah.
So I do certain things every day. And then the tennis comes. But if I'm not in the right mindset to play tennis, then I'm not going to be very good. So I think that's...
Yeah. If your mindset's always like tennis, without all the other little steps that lead up to it, it's really, really easy to get really down on yourself and negative and feel like things are all or nothing, instead of like, okay, even if I have a bad day, I'm still going to do XYZ when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah. The routine doesn't change, like, regardless of results. And obviously, I'm competitive. I don't like losing, but I don't react to losing anymore. I mean, when I was younger, if I lost, I used to, go out with a few other guys and just not pick up a tennis racket for 2 more days. But that was my reaction. That was my go-to, because I was so angry. So whatever, that was my release. And then you look around and you see the Spanish guys and, the players that have made it now, they were just on the practice court regardless. Win or lose, it didn't change. I was so obsessed with results, I think. And, love.
How important do you think, like, result-oriented goals? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I think the connection kind of lagged for a second. I thought you were done. No, did. Go ahead.
I was so result-orientated. Just so, if I won, I was in a good mood. If I lost, I was in a bad mood. And there's still like 10% to that now, but now it's all about, like, all I think to myself is now, like, how can I get better? And then if I do win, great. If I don't, then okay, how do I get better again?
Right.
It's that's my process, and I'm at a career high doing that. So I'd say it's working. Say it's working.
Absolutely. How much emphasis do you put on, like, goal setting and kind of those results-oriented goals versus, like, the process-oriented goals?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think a lot of people involved in my career, like say, what's your ranking goal? And I've never had one. Like, from the start, I said in the first year it'd be good to be top 500 within a year, and I surpassed that easily. And since then, I've kind of wanted to be playing challengers. Now I want to play ATP some weeks, and it's my goal is to try and make it to Aussie Open in January. I got sent home from there as a junior, so I never played the Junior Slam.
I've heard that story.
So that's one for me. I quite like to go there and just change the narrative of the Aussie Open for me. Other than that, I'd like to just keep the ranking going up, ideally. Play some bigger tournaments, ones I've never played before. I'm going to Japan in November for the first time. I just want new experiences, because the results aren't guaranteed, regardless of what I do. So if I didn't win a match to the end of the year, I'm not in Australia. I've been to Japan. I've been to different places again. So it's a case of just getting down to work, trying to take rest weeks because I've not been very good at that, and hence I'm injured because I've just overplayed. So I've got 3 tournaments coming up and a rest week planned. But yeah, so sorry, and I've veered a bit from your question. In answer to your question,
no, that's good. That's good.
I don't really have ranking goals. I don't have. I'd like to play Australia in January for a personal reason. Other than that, I love playing tennis, and I'd like to, ideally, I'd love to be in all 4 Grand Slams playing, at that ranking. I suppose that would be good, but if not, I want to keep playing and enjoying my tennis, which I have been. That's the ultimate for me. Is I step out on court and I feel alive, and I can get that playing for my local team. I can get that. I feel more alive at Wimbledon, of course I do, but I get that when I play a random challenger. It's something, and if I feel I can still keep improving, I'll keep playing tennis.
Yeah.
So it's that simple, and I think that takes the pressure off me, because a problem with goals for me is that I've either failed or I've passed it, and when I used to pass goals, I used to take my foot off the gas and think, I've done it. So it's very much okay. Just appreciate if you're doing well and keep trying to improve. And if I failed a task, it was like the worst thing in the world. I've not made this ranking goal, and that's. I don't know if that's partially in me or partially in the system. When I was younger, it's this obsession with being 250 in the world, and
right.
By the time you're 20 and you feel like I was 500 first year out of men's, and I felt like a failure, and actually I wasn't. That was just my path, and who knows where I would have been. I could have got higher, or I might not have got as high. Could have had an injury. You just don't know how things go, but I'm not allowing myself to put too much emphasis on ranking goals right now.
No, that's great. And I think that whenever I've spoken to people who are just the most content, and then that contentness leading to success on the court, that's a lot of the mindsets that I hear. It's people that want to enjoy the places that they travel and enjoy stepping on a court, whether it's in their backyard or on center court. Obviously, center court, super cool, but happy to be anywhere and just to be playing. That's always an incredible mindset to have.
It is. I mean, and I had an injury when I started a couple of years ago. I did my ankle. I was out for 8 weeks, and all I wanted to do was be healthy. And so if I'm healthy playing tournaments, and even if I'm losing, I'll still come off and go, okay, well, it could be worse.
Right.
That's my mindset now, rather than my ranking's going down next week. Oh, it's terrible. It's kind of It's been a big shift in my head, which is, I think, a big reason why I'm doing well. And I think, tennis, right? I think if you're mentally in a good place, you're going to have your best results.
Absolutely. Well, we can't talk about off-court life without talking about internet trolls. So many athletes experience it. I've seen that you've been, I would honestly say bullied and trolled for something you mentioned earlier, your weight.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, could you speak on what seeing and hearing those things about yourself is like for you and how you've worked through it?
Yeah, I mean, now I've got my internet controls on my social media, so no one can message me anyway, because most of the time I was cool with it, but sometimes, I did snap back and get involved in conversations that I don't need to be in. I was aware I was out of shape when I was younger, but I don't know, it just bothered me off court. How it is in tennis as well. Like, I wasn't earning a whole lot of money. You're 300 in the world playing a challenger in the States, and you lose to a good player, and you're coming off and getting abuse, and you're like, sometimes I'm just like, no, I'm not taking this from you. I don't know who you are, but I'm going to give it back. And I don't know, it's strange, because you think tennis players are just out there doing their job, and it all comes from people who lose money gambling on it. And it frustrated me for a while, because I think, how are people allowed to comment on this just because gambling, and I'm not getting paid for this hate. I used to think for a while, like, there's a load of data being sold to the betting companies, and I'm not getting any of it, and I'm getting hate every time you lose a match. But you look around and everyone's got one. I had a bad one last year where someone said he knew where he lived and he was going to come, break my legs, and gave a bit of a location. I had to go to the police because obviously I've got a family now as well. And it's like, yeah, it was a pretty aggressive message.
Wow.
And then you go back on and the account's been deleted, and there's nothing they can do. But for a week, I was okay. I think I was okay. It's. But some players have had it, playing a futures where there's really no money, and they've had someone, locate their Airbnb and say, "I'm coming for you." It just gets a little out of hand sometimes, and 80% of them I find quite amusing. Like I do, because you can't take it seriously. A lot of them you can't even read what they're writing, and they're in capital letters, and some of them are quite witty and some of them aren't. But I think, I don't know, when I was out of shape, when it was weight stuff, it was kind of. I listened to some commentary last night, and there was a player playing, and they were saying, I think he's a big boy, but he might be too big, and I'm just thinking, like, I don't know. Part of me, maybe it resonates with me because that was my struggle, but I'm like, why does this stuff need saying about appearance? Like, why can't we just talk about tennis rather than how they look? And then part of me is like, well, if I understand I was out of shape, and that was a true, when people said you're out of shape, it was true. So I don't know, it's a fine balance, but what my stance on it now is it's probably not going to go anywhere. This is part of the job. It's not a very nice part of the job, but I feel a lot better when I don't respond. And I recommend other players to just, because at one stage I was going straight to my phone after a match to see what was coming in.
Wow.
Like almost looking for that way to vent my anger. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of, if I'm tagged in something, I might see a comment on it. And it doesn't bother me anymore. I just okay. A lot of people are angry because they lost money and stuff like that. But when it becomes a threat, some players are threatened. I think, I don't know. There's kind of, I reported it. I went to the police and I got an email saying, block this account and things that you already do. There's not much protection, not much protection.
Do you think more can be done?
I don't know what, unless it's it's outside of tennis. It's the problem with social media is people can be untraceable. You don't need a driving license or a passport to open up an account.
Yeah. So
I can create an account probably in 2 minutes and do another one and just harass people if I wanted to. I think that's the problem in everyday life. You can't do that because if you go and say something to someone, you might get your ass kicked. I don't know. Whereas I think it's a problem with IT, I suppose, with that people can just create accounts and get away with it. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't happen if they were traced and people could say, this is what you said. Put a face to the comment. Right. I think that's the only thing that will stop it. Because it's too easy. I go on this account and message me and it's gone. It's been deleted. And, I'm not going to hire a private investigator to go and find this person's IP address.
Find every single one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, but if there was a way that, people could get found if they said anything, not just name calling, but if someone threatens you, that's pretty serious. And it's not just me. There's so many players getting threatened, and no, I mean some things you can't say to people that's abusive. You can't say certain things, and they just seem to get away with it and create a new account and spend a lot of time blocking and removing and things like that. And it's just, I don't know. I'm not a very clued up IT person. But I feel like I find it amazing that people can just kind of do what they want on the internet.
Right. Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah. But until something's done in that sense, I don't think there's much to, the guys that work for tennis and the police can really do, I suppose.
It's like you just have to become numb to it and just not let it get to you.
Yeah, it's positive in some ways because, if you don't let that get to you, you're not going to let other things get to you, I suppose.
It's a good way to look at it.
And I have turned off all my controls on my social media.
Smart.
Yeah, so I don't get them directly to me. Someone might put a comment, but no, it wasn't particularly you know, wasn't particularly nice at the time, and it's, you know, obviously I knew I was out of shape, and I obviously didn't know how to lose the weight or what was behind it at the time. It wasn't like, you know, I didn't know. It wasn't like, you know, I was walking around thinking I had a six pack. I was aware of out of shape. I just didn't know what to do to change it, and that was
Right.
a tricky period, I suppose.
Right.
But yeah, I guess a few comments here and then would wind me up in my head, and then I'm on to something else the next day, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Would that ever make it worse for you or put it more in your head than it would have been?
So I don't know. I don't know. It certainly wouldn't have helped anything.
Okay.
But I already knew, you know, I already knew. I already felt out of shape. Already looked out of shape. It wasn't like a thing to me. It was just an extra comment. It certainly wouldn't have helped things, but you know, it I don't think it made things a whole lot worse. You know, if I knew how to get in shape or knew what was behind it, I think I would have done it. You know, I would have done it. You know, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I wasn't trying. It was just one of those things, I suppose.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's backtrack to your early years. I feel like the answer to this question says a lot about a person. What type of kid were you in school when you were growing up?
I was, I was good. I liked sports. I liked break time and lunchtime. And if I was interested in something in a lesson, I'd be fully there. If I wasn't, I would struggle to focus for more than 10 minutes, and I'd, you know, spend a bit of time messing around with my friends or just trying to joke around, I suppose. That changed as I got a bit older, I think. Yeah, my mum will know more, but she said a couple of parents' evenings she went to, she came back sort of distraught. Apparently I was not behaving in some lessons. But my secondary school, as I grew into a teenager, you know, again, very similar. I toned it down a bit, but I wasn't like, you know, getting kicked out of lessons every 2 minutes, but I didn't apply myself to things I didn't find interesting. You know, so I'm either getting A's and B's or nothing at all in exam results, which is again something I'm still like it a bit now. Like, you know, if something doesn't interest me, I've got zero knowledge in it at all. But yeah, I was quite happy, quite fun. Bit of a joker. Couldn't keep still. I still can't keep still very well.
I'm like that. That's why I move as I'm sitting here.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. So I was that kind of kid, but I don't know. I wasn't, you know, I didn't get expelled or suspended from school or anything like that. I was just a little bit of a naughty kid, I suppose.
That's funny. At what point did you start tennis?
Properly when I was 9. So my parents used to take me to Queen's every year, and you know, I started watching the players, and I loved all sport, but I'd get home from school and play against a wall and pretend I was playing Pete Sampras and beating him at Wimbledon, things like that. Like in my own head, I'd be there for 3 hours, just, you know, lobbing myself and running back and hitting tweeners. And I just, had an obsession for I suppose all racket sports, but then tennis became, as soon as I started playing that a bit more, you know, I was obsessed. As I say, I'd get home from school and mum would call me in for dinner. You know, I'm hitting balls. She said the sound against the wall was the most frustrating thing in the world, but you know, I was out there exercising and loving something, so it was one of those things. But I still get that now. Like if I go and hit a few balls, I just don't know. I feel at home. Like I went to hit some balls earlier. I've not played for 2 weeks, and I just feel relaxed. I feel like I just enjoy the feeling of the ball off the racket, even if it hits the back fence.
It's therapeutic. It's so comforting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny. You know where the Sarasota Open is at, Payne Park?
Yeah.
They have a wall there. So sometimes that's where I'll go. If I ever hit on a wall, that's where I go.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
I love a good ball.
Same feeling. Mm-hmm.
I've hit so many balls against walls, especially growing up. I think it helps hand skills as well, you know, like half volleys and things like that.
Yeah.
Like I was always really good at that as a youngster, where other people didn't volley so well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all up for hitting against the wall.
Me too. My dad was always really big on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, we used to go to work with him whenever he was still at the club in Louisiana growing up. And there was a wall there. And so my mom would be working the pro shop. My dad would be on court teaching, and we would just go on the wall.
It's good though. Yeah, I like it.
That was how we stayed entertained.
It is therapeutic, I'm telling you.
Yeah. So going back to your retirement in 2021, what led to your retirement?
Honestly, it was, I played a futures out in Greece. We lost in the quarterfinals and I picked up like 40 euros. Financially it wasn't sustainable anymore because I knew I wanted to play doubles. But without sponsorship, I've got a young family, we're both working, and I was like, I can't, imagine if I did 6 months of this, I'd be losing so much cash.
Yeah.
So, by then I was like, well, I actually can't play even if I wanted to. So it was kind of one of those things I had to really do. And I was, looking forward to getting a job and getting on the next chapter. And it was, in my head, it was, just a shame that I couldn't do it and no more. But yeah, I was kind of done. Like once you travel around and you're making no cash, and then it's a weird thing in tennis because I could go coaching and earn a lot of money. But you can't really do that at tournaments unless you're winning the tournaments every week. It's not sustainable. But yeah I don't know. It's a really strange system that you can coach and make more money than a professional can. Right. Even at the lower rings. So I had to stop and I coached a little bit. I worked in London. I did some stuff, with different players. I did some, beginner lessons at my local club. It was cool. I got to meet people. I got to do things. And then 2020, when did I start? 2022 I started. So end of 2021, there was like an exhibition tournament about 40 minutes from my house, and I was playing singles and still beating guys that were the world ranking. And a girl who I used to coach's dad came in some money, and he said, "Look, I can sponsor you to go and play professionally if you want. You're still good."
Wow.
At this point, so this was December. At this point, like the professional tennis had gone from my head. So I had to go and think about it. I had to go and speak to my wife. It's not just my decision. This is a whole big deal, and I know what it's like to play those futures. I know how long it can take to get your ranking where it wants to be, and I was like,
right, it's not always glamorous.
It's not always glamorous, and I didn't want to say yes straight away. So I trained for a couple of months, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. My first tournament was July or August 22. That was my first futures, and we got in as third alternate. Because obviously there's only 2 wild cards, and they give them to the college guys in the UK. I knew that, and if you don't have a ranking and other people sign in with a ranking, you don't get in. So, I was on the practice court, and the referee had told me, you're in, because the other 2 alternates that signed in have left the site. And then so I'd been on court for 3 hours, and we went and won a match tiebreak, and then my ranking was back. So again, a bit of a weird way to get back into it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and then my ranking didn't go on for 2 weeks, so I entered next week and didn't get in. And then made a semi-finals, and then I was sort of up and running there.
Wow.
And I remember playing with 7 different partners in 7 weeks because no one good wants to play with you because you don't have a ranking. You're not going to get seeded. You might not get in. But I did have some good players that did want to play with me. So I mean, the guy that entered with me when we got third alternate, he was ranked 250 or something. So he took a hit for me not to get in. So yeah, without him signing in with me, we're not. I might not be here. Things like that.
Crazy.
Just I always look back and think,
it's so crazy.
Yeah, it's it's not just my journey. Like people, I've been very lucky to have people help me, and just what could have been. I've got good friends. I've got people that have been selfless and tried to help me out. It's that's one amazing part of my life. I've met loads of people like that.
Do you think your support system now is stronger or different than before on tour?
Yeah, I mean, it's I've learned a lot, so I know it's better to have someone who I trust, that's, you know, a family member or someone who's got my back, than someone with a big CV or a big name. That's so the people the people that are helping with my tennis, I trust with my life. And that's been something that I've learned over the years. You know, I've had some great people coach me. I've had some people that have had big CVs. I've had some people I've not got on with work with me, and it just doesn't work for me. And so yeah, I've got a good team of people around me that are helping me. I've got a good fitness trainer. I've got, you know, friends, family from home. The coach I work with, really nice guy. I've got myself in a position now where, yeah, I've got a good group of people around me, and I trust them, and that's.
Yeah.
I think you look at a lot of top players who still have family members around them, and you're like, there must be a reason for that.
Yeah.
There must be a reason. Some people like yours, your parents know an awful lot about tennis and have a great CV, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people have got family members there that, you know tennis well, but on paper, someone might say, "Oh, why doesn't he work with, you know, this person?" or things like that. No, they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's important to me. That's something I'm going to use going forward for sure.
That's great. You figured that out. I was speaking to Paolo Lorenzi a couple weeks ago. I had him on the pod, and he said something that was really interesting. He described himself, he was talking about maximum potential as a tennis player, and he described himself as reaching 90% or maybe even more of his maximum potential. And he said that a lot of players he's spoken to have only reached about 40 or 50%, they think. So far of your maximum potential, how much do you think you've reached?
I don't want to say 100 because then there's nowhere to go.
No, it can't be 100.
I'd say right now, I'd be at 75. I still think there's certain things I can look at to improve.
That's
good. But yeah, I mean, if you asked me 10 years ago, I'd say 30. 30
Wow.
or 40. And a lot of it was off court. No, a lot of it, yeah, most of it was off court.
What are the biggest differences, biggest key factors that have made that jump?
Okay, so now I just look at today, like what I'm going to do today to get better.
Yeah.
That's all I do now, whereas before it was too thinking too far ahead or too big or too small, or rather than now I'm like, if I look after my body today, if I eat well today, if I eat as well as I can today, if I work out as well as I can today, then if I do that every day, then results and things will follow. That's the biggest difference now.
Goes back to the routines.
I'm breaking it down very small.
Yeah. How connected do you think physical, mental, and emotional well-being are to one another? And do you have to work more at one more than the other?
Well, I think, what the three? There's physical, there's emotional,
and mental.
Yeah. So for me, it starts with mental. So I wake up and I mentally make sure I'm there, and then it's physical second. And that's my chance of getting the best out of the day.
Yeah.
So I have to start with there, because I realised, like, even going on vacation for 4 days last week, I didn't exercise that much. I felt crap, even though I did my mental stuff in the morning. So I need the mental first, and then physical, and then everything else just takes care of itself. But they're so closely linked, incredibly closely linked.
Yeah. It's always interesting because some people feel like they have to have the physical in place to be mentally well first, like they want the physical first. But I'm with you. I like get the mindset right, and then everything else follows. I
won't go and work out if I'm not mentally there. Physical goes out the window.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people that can just get up and go for a run. Like, I can't do that.
Oh, I can do that. But again, it's not like my preferred way of operating.
Okay. Good effort. That's incredible.
It's a forced thing sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, no, I have to get up and do my certain things and then let's go work out.
Yeah.
But yeah, my coach is like that as well. Sorry, my coach, he's up at like 5:30 showing his Strava. I'm like, what is wrong with you, man? It's incredible. Like, I wish I had that in my locker, but no, it's crazy. People are so interesting, aren't
they? Right.
Well,
so a lot of tennis players can truly be their own biggest obstacles, as we've kind of touched on already. What advice can you give to players who are their own worst enemy?
I think for players like that, it's just have yourself a plan and don't think about results. I know it's very, very easy to say, but surround yourself with people that just want to see you get better. So don't listen to any ranking goals, anything like that. Just, okay, ranking goals are great, but how are we going to get there? What few things do we need to do really well to get there? And yeah, don't results is a massive thing. Results happen if you do the basics really well. So that's what I'd say to my younger self, and that's what I'd say to youngsters growing up. Just, I think a lot of parents get it wrong as well. They're so obsessed with winning and losing, and their kids ranking and stuff like that, and it just doesn't matter at that age. Just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, just focus on the process rather than the outcome for now.
Yeah, great advice. You've played another sport that's very similar to tennis, called touch tennis, and you've reached #1 in the world. Tell me about touch tennis. My only times ever watching it have just been watching videos of you playing it. So tell me about it and how you've got into the sport.
So a very close friend of mine, Rashid, very close now friend, I was training in London and I got a Facebook message from this guy basically saying, I'm #1 in the world. I'll come and kick your ass tomorrow. Come and give this touch tennis thing a go. And it was opposite my house. So I was like, right, I'm going to go whip this guy. And of course I whipped him because he's giving it all that. But it's a sport that, first of all, like Rashid made it for me. He was a really good guy. And then I played this game and it was just fun. Sponge ball, one serve, very quick tempo, you have to be very tactically aware to be good at it. You can't just, hit aces and can't just have a massive forehand and be good. It's a very tactically fun sport. And some of the toughest matches I've had against the people that, weren't amazing at tennis, not to a professional level. So it's just really good. It's really good to get people that, don't want to play tennis doing a racket sport and competing and I just play it. I was there a few weeks ago because I was playing in Germany that weekend. I just play it when I can because I love it, and the people are really sound and really nice, and yeah, it's getting serious. The event I went to in Germany had, quite a few people out there, like events going on, performers and things like that. It's just, as I said, I love all racket sports, and that's just another one that I really, really, really like, and it's really accessible to play. So. You just need a little bit of space and a net and a few, cans of spray paint. So it's just nice to see people doing stuff like that. I've not played pickleball yet.
That's one that I haven't tried yet.
Yeah, I've not played pickleball yet either. So, but I've watched a few rallies on stuff. It looks crazy.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's addicting. And again, it's a less barrier to entry. So again, people who don't have as much background in racket sports can, play once or twice and then they'll be ready to go play with friends forever,
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? And tennis isn't for everyone, so physically, certainly. It hurts. And as you get older,
difficult to learn too.
There's a lot to learn, and if you're not playing with someone who's a similar standard, it's not fun for either. You're beating someone 0-0 all the time. I don't think it's that fun. Whereas these games are a bit more of a leveler.
Yeah, for sure. So you also have a podcast, and I've listened to it before. Very funny. I loved it. Are you going to bring it back at all? Because I know it's been a little over a year since you've recorded or posted.
Yeah, I mean, I speak to Dave. He's got a tennis club in London, so he's very busy, and obviously I'm traveling a lot as well. So the problem we had was getting a consistent time together each week, and sometimes we're just not doing it consistently, but it is something we want to do, and people were interested in. But for now it's not happening, but there definitely will be more to come at some point. I just don't know if it's something I do when I retire or but for now we're taking a little break.
Gotcha. And for those who don't know, it's called What You Talking About, Willis. So you can still look it up. Coming up on our last couple of questions here. We're at the end of August right now. By the time this episode airs, it's going to be September. What goals, other than Australian Open in January, what goals do you have for the rest of this year?
What goals do I have? I'd like to win another challenger at some point soon. Because that's gonna take care of ranking, and I'd like to play an ATP, like get into an ATP tournament and play one of those. There's one first week of October, so I guess it's in that sense it's results orientated. But yeah, that's it really. Just stay injury free, try and get another title, and yeah, keep enjoying my tennis. But I think injury free is number one, obviously.
Yep, absolutely. Marcus, how can people find you on social media, and what's the best way for people to follow your career and watch you continue to rise?
Cool. It's Wilbom90 at Wilbom90 is my Instagram, and I don't have a website yet. I'm working on that, but yeah, if you follow me on the ATP players, you can type in my name and you'll see my results and things like that. And I try and keep people updated on Instagram, win or lose. I'll put a thing on my story and try and keep people updated with my journey on there.
Yeah, I'll be following. Marcus, good luck for the rest of this year, and thank you so much for being a guest on Beyond the Match.
Thanks for having me. It's been awesome chatting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to Beyond the Match. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at beyondthematch@outlook.com. We're available anywhere you listen to podcasts, and I do mean anywhere. Please also be sure to follow us on Instagram at Beyond the Match Podcast, and look for exclusive content from our episodes only found on our YouTube pages. Until next time, thank you for listening, and I will see you on the courts.
Metacortex Publishing hopes that you've enjoyed this presentation.
Please take a moment to listen to some other podcast offerings from Metacortex Publishing.
A quest is a search for something. And every week, the Quest podcast will show you how we know what we know through interviews with people that have incredible stories of dedication and perseverance. I'm your host, Todd Fisher. Join me in this thought-provoking and inspiring podcast of discovery. Find us anywhere you listen to podcasts.
The Danceology podcast interviews the great masters of dance, the working professionals starring in today's most exciting shows, and the rising stars ready to amp up the craft. I'm your host, Edyta Stawinska from Dancing with the Stars. Join me as I dive into the world of dance, uncovering unique stories and the fascinating personalities of industry professionals on Danceology.
Cult Following is a podcast that studies the personalities and common traits of cult leaders and their followers. Get the real story behind these infamous and oftentimes tragic cults from a new perspective, through exhaustive research and from interviews with people that were there. Available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
The No Earthly Explanation podcast investigates the things that are unexplainable. Hosted by world-renowned investigative researcher Donald R. Schmidt and scientist Ellie Ringo. Follow them as they look for evidence for things that have no earthly explanation. Available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. This podcast is produced by Todd Fisher and Anthony Smith and is distributed by Metacortex Publishing. This podcast is copyright Any previously trademarked or copyright content is used by permission. Information and opinions stated in this podcast should not be construed as medical advice. Please be sure to visit the official website for Metacortex Publishing at metacortexpublishing.com or find us on social media for other unique content.